Here are 11 facts to describe the death and carnage of World War I as a tribute to all of those who lost their lives or were wounded in the war to end all wars and subsequent carnage in the years to follow. 1. Between both the Entente and the Central Powers, 33,434,443 people were casualties of the war. If all those people became citizens of their own country, they would have ranked as the 11th most populous country of the time. Or, in other words, about 2% of the population became casualties of the war. 2. 56% of people who were mobilized in the war became casualties of it. The hardest affected countries were Austria-Hungary, Turkey, Bulgaria, France, Serbia, and Russia. 3. Between World War I and the Russian Civil War, Russia had 19,150,000 casualties, or about 11% of its entire population. If a similar event were to happen in the United States today, almost 37 million people would become casualties. That would equal the population of the states of Wyoming, Vermont, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Delaware, Rhode Island, Montana, Maine, New Hampshire, Hawaii, West Virginia, Idaho, Nebraska, New Mexico, Kansas, Mississippi, Arkansas, Nevada, Iowa, and Utah. 4. Specifically on the Western Front, 11,798,000 people were casualties. Since the Western Front was about 400 miles long, that would make the death-to-land ratio 29,495 people per square mile. For reference, Martinique is similar in size, but the population density is 917 people per square mile. 5. The total number of deaths, civilian and military, in World War I is estimated between 15 and 20 million. There are only 5 recorded wars in history with potentially a higher death toll. 3 of those wars were Chinese civil wars, and the last 2 were World War II and the Sino-Japanese War. 6. There were 7,781,806 military deaths over the course of the 4 years of war. The deadliest war for Americans in American history, the American Civil War, saw both sides lose 655,000 men over the course of 4 years. To match the same number of deaths in World War I, the American Civil War would have lasted for 48 years. Also, if you took all of the American deaths from all 13 of the major wars America has been part of, there would be 1,354,664 deaths over the course of 108 years of war, or 17% of the deaths in 27 times the length of World War I. 7. The 100 Days Offensive is known as the deadliest stretch of World War I. During the 95 days that offensive was active, a total of 2,259,575 people became casualties. That equals 23,785 people every single day being either injured or killed on both sides of the war at the end of the war. 8. On the Eastern Front alone, there were 5,620,075 civilian and military deaths. And from that total, 55% of the deaths were civilian alone. Of the 2 million civilian deaths on the Eastern Front, 33% of them died by direct military action, and the other 67% died from war-related causes. 9. World War I directly caused more deaths than any other war in history because of its influence on every other war in the 20th century. Though, directly after World War I, the Spanish flu and the Russian Civil War became the new sources of death, both of which had their beginnings in World War I. If I add the minimum totals for World War I, the Russian Civil War, and the Spanish flu, there would have been 46 million deaths, with the higher estimates reaching up to 82 million deaths. Those two numbers would equal 2.6% and 4.6% of the global population at the time, respectively. 10. World War I was a financial war just as much as it was a military war. The debt of nations increased like never seen before. On August 1st, 1914, the total debt of the United States, Great Britain, France, Russia, Italy, Germany, and Austria-Hungary was $27.3 billion. Then, on January 1st, 1919, the same nations had their debt calculated again. This new number was $194 billion, or over 7 times the number at the start of the war. Particularly from 1900 to now in the United States, debt increased at a rate double that of any other time. The second closest time that debt increased was during World War II, 11. By most estimates, there were between 15 million and 22 million deaths in World War I. To put into perspective how many people that really is, here is an example. If you met 30 new people every single day for an entire year, you would meet 10,950 new people. So to meet 15 million people, you would have to meet 30 new people every single day for 1,370 years. And to meet 22 million people, you would have to meet 30 new people every single day for 2,009 years. If you started today, November 11th, 2022, to meet 15 million people, you would need to meet people until November 11th, 3329. And to reach 22 million people, the date is November 11th, 4031. Each and every person who died throughout the war was a person like me and you, with friends, family, and loved ones. And yet, they died and never got to experience any more of their lives. All of those people had a story and we'll never be able to hear them now. That's why I made this video. It's easy to get caught up in the death and the overwhelmingly large numbers and forget that every single person that died in the war was a person that never got to live their life. Each person had hundreds of stories that will never be told, both from the war and outside of it. So I'll leave you today with a story from one of the lucky few who survived. This video is from Harry Patch, the last known veteran of World War I that fought on the front lines. He passed away in 2009 at the age of 111.
The officer was going down the trench. Anybody who didn't go in was shot on sight for cowardice. We went over and we crawled. If you stood up, you were dead. And I came across a Cornishman. He was ripped from his shoulder to his stomach with shrapnel. His inside was out on the ground in a pool of blood. He said, "Shoot me." Before we could draw a revolver to shoot him, he was beyond all human aid. He died. In 30 seconds he died, and he just said one word, "Mother." And that haunted me all my life.